Okay. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Andors Lips. I'm presenting here HCF International Advisors to you. HCF is an independent financial advisory firm that was established almost 20 years ago. And it consists of a team of about 11 persons that provide financial advisory services to primarily mining companies. So exploration companies, development companies, or mining companies that already have production. Maybe first a little bit of background of myself. I am a geologist by training. Worked first at university, primarily on magmatic hydrothermal systems in convergent margin settings. So Andes, Alpine Belt, Southeast Asia, those kinds of settings focused on gold and copper gold systems. And then I moved to BRGM, the French Geological Survey, working on scientific and commercial contracts. And then later became technical director for Lydian International, where we made a gold discovery in Armenia, the Almosar project in 2008. Then I moved to ING Bank, to the financial side, and in providing bank debt to mining companies as part of the metals and mining team there, and then moved on to the Commodity Discovery Fund, focusing on equity investments on early stage mining or exploration juniors, basically investing on discovery successes. Then basically all that technical and financial background that I gained or experience that I gained over the years, I basically integrated that in my role with Eldorado Gold in trying to progress Eldorado's assets in Greece with support from financial and technical and other stakeholders around their assets in Greece. And for the last year or so, I'm providing independent strategic advice, both to say financing, technical and business development advice to mining companies. And as part of that, I have integrated with HCF International Advisors. So in some way, my background is not that important, but where it does matter is that the way HCF is characterized is that we are able to mobilize and to integrate our technical and financial experiences and expertise and capabilities and apply that to the needs of mining companies and development companies. And so with, let's say, this is the senior team of HCF. So Sean Gorman and David Bellingham are the two managing directors of HCF, and Guy de Cellier is the co-founder of HCF. So again, about 20 years ago. And so with the type of expertise, you can see that it is quite it marries quite well the technical and financial capabilities that HCF team mobilizes. And with that, we are basically able to apply that knowledge and helping mining companies in raising primarily debt financing, structured debt, so project finance, structured corporate debt, but also integrating the needs for on the equity side, dealing with alternative financing instruments, etc. And having done that, we basically have been working all across the world, but we have found our sweet spot also basically based on our experience in developing countries. So jurisdictions that may still be, I would say, considered as challenging from a project finance and a securitization point of view. And that is where we are able to develop the appropriate financing structures to the benefit of the mining companies or the development companies, but also where financiers like commercial banks or other financiers find enough appetite to mobilize their capital. So again, this is applied to mining companies, and we're agnostic to the type of metals. So it can be precious metals, base metals, and obviously in the last couple of years we have been developing more and more to, let's say, the battery metals, the lithium, the manganese, the cobalts of this world. So again, we are providing quite a range of financial advisory services to the mining sector, and primarily focused on debt, but also focused on providing a fully funded proposition to the mining company. And that is where most developing companies, they deliver their PEA, they deliver their PFSs, they deliver their definitive feasibility studies, and then they say, okay, now we have a bankable feasibility study, and let's look around, or let's solicit parties that would like to finance this. And that is where HCF as an advisor would either come in, but also preferably would come in at an earlier stage to make sure that the feasibility study, while it is still in progress, can be developed in such a way that there is a seamless fit with the financing process that follows. And that is where companies sometimes are so focused in their homework, in delivering the feasibility study, that they do not always deliver or prepare or develop that feasibility study in a sense that it is, let's say, to the best of a financing structure. And as I said, so we are focusing on providing debt, structured debt, so that maybe, let's say, the traditional project finance, where a club of banks can provide capital, let's say anything or anywhere between 50 million to over $1 billion. But we also focus on alternative debt instruments like streams, royalties, offtake finance. Sometimes you see that there is a bridge loan is required, or there some subordinated debt is required. Sometimes there is already debt outstanding that needs refinancing or repricing. We are very much focused on. We are very much focused on the integration of DFIs and ECAs. So the development financial institutions, like parties like the IFC, member of the World Bank, or EBRD or others, but also ECAs, the export credit agencies. Well known probably is the Canadian EDC or the Australian EFA, and that are parties that both have capital to deploy, but also may provide some sort of political risk insurance because of, let's say, their involvement, maybe through existing multilateral agreements or bilateral agreements with the host country where the mining project resides. But there are also other ECAs that just provide that political risk guarantee, like, for instance, EKN, the Swedish export credit agency, and then they basically relate that to the procurement of goods or services that find their roots in Sweden or in Scandinavia, for which they may be able to provide cover. And then political risk mitigation, obviously, if you find your sweet spot in challenging jurisdictions or jurisdictions where maybe sometimes commercial banks are hesitant to lend towards, then political risk mitigation is obviously key to the solution. And that is, I think, where HCF has an outstanding track record in providing political risk cover, or providing the appropriate structure so that both lenders are comfortable in lending to the party, but obviously also that the borrower, the in-country borrower, is serviced with the capital required. And let's say recent track records of HCF includes countries like DRC, Guinea, Mauritania, but also more developed countries, because in the same time we are looking at Canada, Australia, and other countries as well. Currently, we have mandates that include Niger or even Sudan. Sudan is fully open for business. When sanctions were lifted about 8 months ago, They are full member of the World Bank, and so in theory, the country can receive debt services or debt from external parties, and also external parties should or could be comfortable in lending towards a Sudanese or a Sudan-based borrower if the structure is deemed appropriate. As I mentioned, we are focusing on providing a fully funded solution. So it's not only about providing the debt piece in mining finance, project finance. Gearing is, let's say, roughly between 50 and 70%. So of the total initial capex required, you could assume that 50, 60, sometimes over 60 to close to 70% of the initial capex can be debt funded, but it still leaves a significant equity contribution that is required. And obviously that is also where HCF provides their service in making sure that the equity requirements marry well with the debt requirements, and that all the stakeholders are well aligned in bringing the full funds available and making the project a success. Clearly, there are other services that we provide, whether that is M&A, general strategic advice. And so this is not something that we have not done before. Over the years, we have accumulated tremendous expertise and capabilities in providing, and so we are able to provide that advice to companies for which it may be the first or second or third time when they are entering into an off-take contract, for instance, or off-take terms, or a shareholder agreement with a host country government. And that is something where the requirements for these contractual agreements to fit well is again often overlooked. Countries are busy with developing their mainstream of work, and for them they have the idea that developing the project, establishing their resources, establishing their PEA, PFS, DFS is the prime importance, and finding the appropriate financing solution is never a top priority. Maybe second to that previous work stream, but the requirements and the parameters that are required are easily overlooked. So again, why HCF? So HCF does not provide a balance sheet. So we are not lending ourselves. So we are an independent advisory firm. But it allows us to really be in between the capital providers, the lenders, and the company. And being independent allows us to really also lean towards the mining company and making sure that the terms and the structure fits well with almost a 10-year development and production horizon. But it doesn't mean that the tenor of the loan would be 10 years. But again, we are together we consider ourselves part of the company team to deliver success, and that success should bring that company well beyond a 10-year horizon. As I said before, we have done that before. We have done that for almost 20 years now. We mobilize capabilities and experiences from other roles that we had in the past, both on banking side and on company side. And we are very familiar with the range of products that are available to a company, or that are available to that funding solution. We apply best-in-class capabilities, as I said, and we are pragmatic. The deal needs to be done, but preferably at the best terms for the company. And best terms could include highest leverage, so being able to leverage a maximum debt amount, and or speed of execution. And some companies would like to have it executed within 6 months. So if that is the priority, then we'll work towards that. Minimize shareholder dilution. So all kind of parameters that are that basically are put in the mix while working towards that solution. I may say that overall, this kind of services is provided on a retainer basis. So you pay HCF a monthly retainer to prepare the financing and then to execute the financing. But HCF also has the ability to come in very early, let's say even on a PEA or PFS basis, to basically help work together with the company towards that financing. And that can be done either on a fixed fee or an ad hoc basis, so an on-demand basis. So we agree on a price per day, and if you don't need our services, then we're basically just standing by. So you have this 11-person team available to you if required. But if you don't call on us, then we're just standing by, and it is not charging you anything. And that is something that we have seen being of tremendous benefit to companies, also in the context of the last 2 years of COVID, where also when progress is not made or companies or the financing timelines are being stretched, that you're not on the hook for a monthly retainer if that progress is not made. So again, pragmatic is definitely something that characterizes HCF. We have expertise over here to stated PGM-based metals, but clearly also precious metals, and as I said before, battery metals. And here there's a list of projects that we are involved in. As I mentioned, we are well connected with most of the financiers or other stakeholders that come into play in the financing mix, either in providing PRI, in providing a guarantee, in looking for offtake, in providing a stream of royalty, or just providing debt. So here on the left-hand side, the export credit agencies, so related to individual countries, or the DFIs, the development financial institutions like IFC, DFC, and others. And clearly, our address book is well populated with the contacts of the various commercial banks. And we also know, we are quite familiar with the risk appetite that the individual commercial banks have. And for instance, the mining finance banks like BNP Paribas or ING or Société Générale, you may, as a mining company, you may be looking at those parties first, but we also know where those financiers find their appetite, or where those financiers may not find their appetite, and where alternative sources of funds are being required. And developing over the last 10 years are clearly the alternative financial or financing instruments. And it could be the debt funds, the traditional debt funds like Orion, Taurus, Sprott, RCF, but also those parties that can provide a stream or a royalty or provide a mix of debt, even equity, royalty, etc. So we grow with our market, both on the mining side, and we see what projects are developing and may require financing advice. And we grow with the capital providers, and we see where they develop their appetite, or where new players come to market that can provide capital. So we are here in Africa in this particular conference. Here's just a list of TSX listed clients that we have been advising in the recent past. Another sample of our mandates, but there is an extensive series available. And here is our team. So I introduce you to these three gentlemen and myself, but clearly we have an extensive base of colleagues that we are able to mobilize. And typically when a financing mandate is running, we run this with 3 to 4 persons out of our team across the set of experiences that we have. So that is basically what I have to show with you or share with you. Again, if there is something there where we can be of service, where we recognize that we can be of service, we will not hesitate in reaching out to you, the mining companies, but also vice versa. If you are in demand of financial services or financial advice, or you need something to be checked, or you want to relate maybe some of your contractual developments, then we are also available to provide you with ad hoc advice, or work together with you again as a team in preparation of the financing and in execution of hopefully the best possible financing for your company and for your developments. So I'll leave it with that. And if you would have any further question, I am available. And I will, it's not in this presentation, but I will leave my contact details with the organization or in this presentation. Thank you very much.